I don't care if you're using the Bitcoin OS bridge, and I don't care if you're using the Sundial bridge or anything, because as an ecosystem guy, do you really care if you're running a restaurant, if they took I-25 to get to your restaurant or 36 to get to your restaurant? No, they're at your restaurant. The route that they took to get to your restaurant is immaterial. The fact that the car pulled up, parked in the parking lot, and they're eating at your restaurant, that's what matters, okay? Now, if you got a toll road and, you're getting paid for every time someone goes on I-25, maybe you care a little bit about that, but your primary business is the restaurant. So we're agnostic to whether somebody builds a better bridge, and we're working actively with some of the bridge builders, like Sundial is one, and we talk to them all the time. And we have a series of technologies we're trying to build because what we care about are the speed and efficiency of the bridge and cost. You can't enter into the market saying that when they click that toggle, it says, "All right, Jason, tomorrow morning your Bitcoin will be available." Can't do that. When you click that toggle, your Bitcoin's gotta be available instantly. And when you click it, you can't be, "Well, thanks, Jason, that'll be $400 to enter DeFi mode." You can't do that. It's gotta be 5 cents. So that's what we really care about inside these
Right.
dynamics. And so how do you do that with a reasonable level of security that eventually settles to the Bitcoin network? So in the short term, you're reliant on some other structure that's probably reasonable, but in the long term, it's batch settled on Bitcoin. So your long-term value is on the Bitcoin side. That's the trade-off that we're looking for. Why? Because you can't upgrade Bitcoin. I would love to change how proof of work works on Bitcoin and add a bunch of things into Bitcoin script and then it would just be awesome and it'd be trustless like midnight to Cardano. But you can't upgrade Bitcoin. So the best you can work with is Taproot, and Taproot is more of like a daily settlement type of thing where you take a bundle of many events and other things and you settle as one batch proof. You pay a few $1,000s for that proof for 10,000 users or 100,000 users or something like that. It's not a real-time thing like every single time you do a swap on a DEX, every single time you use an Oracle or something, you call Bitcoin. You don't want to do that. It's not built for that. Finality is 60 minutes on Bitcoin. It's like sub-second on Aptos. It just gives you a sense of how technology's moved on, and that's okay. We don't want Bitcoin to change itself. Just leave it as it is and deal with it there. Why us over a layer two? It's self-evident. We're the large scale layer one. We're fully decentralized, and also we figured out how to do UTXO programming. The Bitcoin guys never did because they're not expressive enough. So when you go to build these Bitcoin hybrid applications where part lives on Bitcoin and part lives somewhere else, all these other guys like Stacks and these guys, they have to go through the same hell we went through for the last 4 years in Cardano, figuring out how to build dApps and DeFi and UTXO. Okay, everybody's an EVM developer. And then suddenly we're like, hey, let's build with UTXO and all these developers, and we just don't know how to do that. So we had to figure it out. So we had to write Aiken, and we had to create all these different dev patterns and things like that. But we figured it out, and we have these great dev tools now for that. So that's the other side of Bitcoin DeFi. What we need to do is we need to go ahead and allow people to build an app on Cardano into Bitcoin. So it's not good enough just to have a one-way bridge where Bitcoin goes into Cardano, but it'd be really cool that you can build an app on Cardano to talk to Bitcoin and do things on the Bitcoin network. Because then all of a sudden, a lot of people who hate Cardano or don't give a shit about Cardano will say, well, no, we use Cardano as our development platform for Bitcoin. Because it's one thing to say we have no users, but Bitcoin's got 550 million users and 2 trillion heading to $10 trillion worth of value. And every institution and every government has it. And it has much more liquidity than all the other cryptocurrencies combined. Okay. It's very deep markets. It's not hypothetical. When that fucking short sale happened, Bitcoin fell a little bit, like 6%, and everybody else fell 50% or 60%. Why? Because they have liquidity. They can survive a $40 billion liquidation event. Bitcoin is solid from a marketing perspective, from a market's perspective. So if I'm looking for new customers, either I'm going to spend $1 billion fighting Sui and Solana and Aptos and these other guys for like a little bit of table scraps from it, or I can go to Bitcoin where there's almost no TVL and $2 trillion and there's 550 million people and there's no yield products right now. They don't get stake yield or any of this other stuff. So that's like virgin territory. That's like discovering North America. You're in Europe and you're like, what? Why am I fighting for Prussia? I'm just going to go to fucking North America. It's like 4 times the size. Yeah, it's virgin territory. So what's the best way to get into Bitcoin? I want to make Cardano the best place to get into Bitcoin. build an app on Cardano into Bitcoin. We have the dev tools, we have all the things. So not only that, we got BitVMX working, we were able to get Plutus and Aiken to compile to Bitcoin script. So you can use our dev tools to write Bitcoin smart contracts and run them on the Bitcoin network.
Well, then what are all the developers going to have to complain about? Oh, it's too complicated. Do you think there'll be enough motivation for them to learn something new outside of the old?
Well, if they're going to learn something new, they're going to learn it to chase a $2 trillion opportunity, not a $30 billion opportunity. So that's how you get the developers. And so what are they going to do? They're going to download our dev tools, and then suddenly we'll get thousands of developers from Bitcoin DeFi who don't care about Bitcoin at all, but do care about Bitcoin DeFi. And actually, some of the partners the Midnight Foundation made, that's how we got them in. They're like, I don't know about Cardano. I say, well, you can deploy from Cardano into Bitcoin. They're like, really? I say, yeah, it's coming 2026. I say, yeah, actually, we should integrate you guys because we really think Bitcoin DeFi is going to be a big thing. That's a good market. So we'll launch from Cardano into that. So that's a superpower that only we have because we're a one-to-one with UTXO, and we have a very similar model to Bitcoin, whereas Ethereum doesn't have that. Solana doesn't have it. You just can't take an Ethereum app and dump it to Bitcoin. It doesn't work that way. It's radically different design. So we have a first mover advantage there, and we have 4 years of DevX history there, and we're getting to a point where the DevX is really good on Cardano.
I know I know what your answer is already going to be, but if I don't ask, everybody's going to troll me.